This is
Make it plain.
Make it plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make it plain.
Get woke.
Nice buns, soft, fluffy, and ultra-low net carbs. Discover Hero Bread, the delicious ultra-low net carb bread with incredible taste and texture. Hero Bread has 0 grams of sugar and is under 100 calories per serving, plus high in fiber with 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Order from hero.co now and get 10% off your first purchase with promo code AH10. That's 10% off with code AH10. HERO.co.
Ladies and gentlemen, always an honor to be joined by the chair of the Democratic National Committee right after Biden's tremendous State of the Union speech, something different from most State of the Union speeches we've heard before. And we have with us Jaime Harrison. Mr. Chair, how are you?
I'm great, Rev. Thank you so much for having me on. Listen, I was at the State of the Union last night as a guest to our new Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries. And I tell you, I could not have been more proud of the performance of our president.
It was a little surprising, wasn't it? Not because there's any question about his ability. I mean, we know where Joe Biden grew up and who he used to hang out with. So he knows how to, stand on his feet and retort. I'm saying that diplomatically. But I mean, that was really kind of incredible, wasn't it? It was clear it happened in the moment organically, right? I mean, that couldn't have been scripted.
No, it wasn't scripted. And, the president was strong and energetic last night in the State of the Union address. He spoke clearly and directly to the American people about the progress we've made. But he's also talked about in that speech last night the things that we have to address from the very micro to the very macro. And then what you saw was theatrics coming from the other side. I mean, Mark, I worked in the House for a long time. I've been doing this stuff now 20 plus years. And never in my years of being a staffer on the Hill have I seen such dishonor brought to the House that I saw last night. I mean, these people, my 3-year-old behaves better than some of those Republican members of Congress.
But they aren't very bright either, are they, Jaime? Because it was as if they were looking for a moment to be disruptive. They picked the wrong moment. They were running out of moments. The clock was running. They was trying to find an opening. And then he said Social Security and Medicare, which they are on the record as wanting to undermine. And MTG just said, I got to say something. We got to do something. And they jumped on it and they got housed.
It was a perfect mousetrap. The president left a little bit of cheese here, a little bit of cheese there. And then he said, I gotcha.
That's right. That's right.
And you know what? He got them for the American people and our seniors. He got them on record that they will not touch Social Security and Medicare. When we know full well, Mike Lee, who was on the floor and clutching his pearls.
Right.
Oh my God, you're saying, and we have him on record saying that we should pull Social Security and Medicare out by their roots. And so this is the same man who said, I don't understand. The only person that was confused, or the only people that were confused, were all on that Republican side of the aisle, because they've been saying for months and years, Lindsey Graham, Mike Lee, Rick Scott, I can go on and on and on about them putting Social Security and Medicare on the chopping block, letting it sunset, pulling it out by its roots. Those are their words, not the president's.
No, it was the perfect mousetrap. Very well put. What were some of the other highlights for you from the speech? For example, Tyree Nichols' family was there. We've never heard a president acknowledge the talk that we have to have in our household.
The talk. When he said that, Mark, I got chills. Never had I ever imagined, if any president would have done it, you would have thought Barack Obama. But here's this president who stood up in the well of the House, that has all of the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, that has the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that has diplomats from around the world. And he gets on the floor and he talks about an experience that is almost unique to Black and brown folks, the talk. And, again, we should not be surprised by Joe Biden bringing this up. This is the same president that has appointed more black women to the appellate court than any other president combined. This is the same president that put the first black woman on the U.S. Supreme Court. This is the same president who has said, you know what, we're going to change up how we have selected our nominee for president for the last decades or so, for the last 50 years. And guess what? We are going to put a state with majority black voters, and they're going to be the first. So we should not be surprised that Joe Biden addressed the talk at yet last night's State of the Union, because it continues to be what he wants to make sure that we all have a seat at the table, that we can all eat, that we can all address the issues that we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And that's why I'm proud to work for the man.
Clearly, also in the aftermath of a stellar jobs report too, Friday.
Stellar. He created more jobs in 2 years than any president ever has in 4. 12 million jobs. Lowest unemployment since 1969. And, we can go on and on about this president and how in 2 years has delivered so much. And that's why you elect a president. You elect somebody who's going to roll up their sleeves and go and work for you. I mean, you just look at the work on student loans, right? No other president ever touched student loans until this president. And not only did he touch student loans, he said a magic phrase for many of us: Pell Grants. Now, Mark, some people had to Google what a Pell Grant was, but I know, what Pell Grants are. And it was code for a lot of us in the black community, because but for Pell Grants, we would not have gotten through school. But this president said, we're going to give you some extra assistance and help if you got Pell Grants.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of the president. I'm proud of the vice president, because she has been arm in arm with him on this every step of the way, on what they have achieved and what I think they can continue to achieve if we continue to just give them the support that they need.
The infrastructure plans, and he even joked about how people fight what he's trying to do, and then they want to be invited to the events when he's in their districts where they're shovel ready. I mean, and this is going to touch a lot of the districts where some of those people were last night that were heckling him.
Well, that's exactly right. Many of those folks have already shown up to groundbreaking, even though they voted against the legislation. I almost wish they would put a provision in: if you vote no, you can't go to the ribbon cut. Because the hypocrisy on the Republican side knows no bounds. It knows no bounds. They will say that they're for something. I mean, and the sad thing is watching them last night. They couldn't stand up for teachers' pay. Teachers deserve a pay, but the Republicans they sat on their hands on a number of issues that the president brought up that you would think would have bipartisan support. They could not give him a win, but that's okay. He's not doing it for them. He's doing it for the American people. And that's why he fights so hard. And again, why I'm so proud of the Biden-Harris administration and all that they are doing to deliver for America.
Anyone who had any doubts about his ability, or let's be honest, there's a lot of ageism out here, his stamina, his strength. I mean, he acquitted himself of all those concerns last night, didn't he? Especially with the repartee. I was saying to another guest, it kind of, for a brief moment, it reminded me of the House of Commons.
It did.
But I don't, you know what though? I don't think they're gonna do that again, Jamie.
No, I think
I don't think they're gonna open it to leave themselves open for that again.
No, they were playing checkers and Joe Biden was playing chess last night.
He was ready for him. I was reminded, I guess, I don't know if you remember this, when Margaret Thatcher was leaving office, and there was the last question time she had, and she goes to the well of the House of Commons. I mean, they battling, they wearing her out, running her down. And she got up to the mic and said, "I love this." I mean, and just conquered them all. So, in a way, Joe Biden did. I don't think they're going to mess with him anymore. I'm sure they had some meetings last night. Hey, don't send none of that dude no more. Don't heckle him. Don't put yourself in that position. So it was great. It's Black History Month, my brother. You are obviously a part of Black history, being a DNC chair, coming from South Carolina. I'm noticing over your right shoulder too, our brother Ron Brown's
Ron Brown.
image, the first African American chair of the DNC.
That's
How you feeling this Black History Month? How are you recognizing?
Well, listen, I understand that I stand on the shoulders of greats, including Ron Brown, who was a transformational figure at the DNC. Really broke through the glass ceiling and everything else that allowed me to be sitting in this office today. But I also stand on the shoulders of great people like Tim Clark. Everything I've learned in politics, I've learned at the knee of this man, who taught me this, Rev, that he said to me when I was a young staffer on the Hill. He said, Jaime, in DC, and particularly on Capitol Hill, they're show horses and they're workhorses. You always need to be a workhorse. And that's what I've been focused on. And, and that really epitomizes Black history. Our community, we're community workhorses. We get stuff done. We have built this country on our back with our blood, our sweat, and our tears. But now it's time that we make sure that people continue to deliver for us, because it's time that we need them to invest in our communities. And I'm glad that we have a president that's doing just that. That's making sure that our voices can be, make sure that we're investing in our communities, fighting back against climate change and how it is impacting our communities, making sure that Black folks can open up small businesses and thrive. I'm proud of this president, proud of this vice president.
And
commitment to our communities.
And obviously great reason to be. And now we have a change in the primary calendar, right? South Carolina will go first.
South Carolina will be going first, which is a big deal. Mark, you think about this. 40% of enslaved folks in this country came through the Port of Charleston in South Carolina. National Geographic says that African Americans, 90% of African Americans can trace at least one ancestor to South Carolina. And now this state where, all of these enslaved folks came in, where many people didn't have the right to vote, including my grandparents, now is going to be the first in the nation to help determine the most powerful person on the face of this planet. That's change. That's real change. And that's a big deal. And that only happened because of the leadership of President Joe Biden.
And a community, an electorate, the African American electorate that is more loyal,
exactly right,
to this party than any other. So it makes it.
Let me add the caveat to that. The president has even said, but for the folks in South Carolina and the African American community, he would not be president of the United States.
No, most certainly wouldn't.
And he doesn't forget that.
So to be clear, where then do Iowa and New Hampshire fall on the calendar? What happens?
Yeah. So this is the new calendar. And when you look at this calendar really reflects the diversity of the Democratic Party and the diversity of America. I mean, this is a great calendar. We first start off in South Carolina. Then we move to New Hampshire and Nevada, which will be 3 days later. Nevada has a large Latino population. Large labor movement there in Nevada. Then after you're done with those 3 small states, we then take a week off or so and we go to Georgia, the home of the New South, right? We spend some time in Georgia, and then we go to Michigan. Michigan with a significant Black, significant Latino, significant Muslim American population, but also the birthplace of the middle class and labor. Right there in Michigan. And then we open it up into the regular window in which Iowa and other states will get an opportunity to then weigh in.
I'd heard that some in Iowa, New Hampshire wanted to still try to do something. Is that something are they still going to try that? Are they now on board, or can they do that? Can they just decide we're going to do it the way we want to do it anyway?
Well, listen, in the end of the day, the DNC will dictate what our primary schedule is.
Right.
And, primaries are, in essence, delegate allocation contests. And so the DNC decides that. So you can have an event, but that doesn't mean that we're going to allocate any delegates out of it. And the only way you become president or our nominee is by acquiring delegates. And so we have extended waivers. We have extended an opportunity to Georgia and to New Hampshire to continue to work within their states so that they can comply with the waiver that we have at the DNC to allow them to be early states. They have until June to do that. And then after that, we'll make an assessment of how we move forward.
Well, congratulations on that. That's a bit of history as well, folks, in this Black History Month. And the very first in the nation primary will be in South Carolina in Black History Month.
In Black History Month.
During Black History Month in 2024.
That's that's the best way to kick off Black History Month. Come down to Charleston and get some shrimp and grits and listen to presidential candidate.
That's right. That's right. Jaime Harrison, the chair of the Democratic National Committee. Great work, my brother. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter code FACE at checkout. That's harrys.com, code FACE. Enjoy.
It's that time of the month again, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. Once
Ladies and
again,
gentlemen, always an honor to be
reporting
joined by
on
the
the
chair
jobs report
of the
and doing
Democratic National
so
Committee, right after
just
Biden's tremendous
one day
State of the
removed
Union speech,
from the
something
president's
different from
state
most State of the Union
of
speeches we've heard
the union
before.
address, where he touched on
We have
the
with us
jobs
Jaime
numbers.
Harrison.
Here
Mr. Chair,
to
how are you?
talk us
I'm
through
great.
the
I'm
latest
great,
numbers for the
Fred.
month of
Thank
January
you so much for having me
is
on.
once again our dear friend, Chief
Listen,
Economist
I was at
at
the
the
State
Center
of
on
the Union last night as a
Budget.org
guest to
and
our
Philadelphia
new
Eagles
Democratic leader,
and
Hakeem
Phillies, first of all, but
Jeffries.
Eagles too.
And I tell you,
fan.
I could not
Chad
have been more
Stone.
proud of the
How are you, buddy?
performance of our
I'm well. How are you?
I'm
It was
just
a little
fine, just fine.
surprising,
Good to
wasn't it?
have
Not
you
because
back with us.
there's any question about
as always.
ability.
So
we know
Biden had
where Joe
something
Biden grew
to,
up,
I guess, brag
and who
about
he used
last
to hang
night.
out with, so he knows how
He
to,
did have something to brag about.
you know,
now,
stand on his feet
we'll
and
get
retort.
to the January numbers,
I'm
but
saying that diplomatically.
yeah. So
Uh,
we've had an economy that's really
but,
recovered strongly.
I mean, that was really kind of
much
incredible,
faster
wasn't it? It was
than
clear
the,
it happened in the moment
recovery from
organically, right? I mean,
the
that
Great
couldn't have been
Recession,
scripted.
which was impeded
No,
by
it wasn't scripted. And you know,
a lot of
the president
austerity.
he was strong and energetic last night in the State of the Union address. He spoke
Behavior.
clearly,
But this time,
directly to the
we had
American people
we had a big
about
policy
the
response,
progress
and it
we've
really
made.
helped
But he's also
to
talked
get the
about in
economy
that
out of
speech last night
recession
the
and
things that we have to
early
address from
2020
the very
and to
micro
keep the
to the
jobs
very
recovery
macro.
going.
And then
Now,
what you saw
have to be clear
was
that we had
theatrics coming
an
from the other side.
unbelievable jobs
Mark,
report for
you know, I
January,
worked in the House for a
in
long
which
time.
over
I've
500,000
been doing this
jobs
stuff now
were
20 plus years.
claimed.
And never in my
think
years of being a
Unbelievable
staff on the
is
Hill
means
have I seen
probably
such
not to be
dishonor
believed
brought to the House
that
that I saw last
that
night. I mean, these people.
there'll probably be some
20-year-old
revisions.
behaves better than some of those.
Some technical
Republican
reasons
members.
why that's probably.
But they aren't very
an
bright either, are
overstatement,
they,
having to
Jaime?
do with
Because
complications.
It was as if they were looking for a
about
moment.
January
to
is
be
being a
disrupted.
complicated month.
And they picked the
People
wrong moment.
are coming off.
You know, they were running out of moments. You know, clock was
they're
running. They
temporary
was trying to
hires
find an
for
opening.
Christmas season
And then
all
he
that
said
stuff.
Social Security and Medicare, which they
So,
are on the record
won't
as
get
wanting
into
to undermine.
the,
And
to
MTG
the
just said, "Oh,
weeds
I got to say
seasonal
something. We got to do
adjustment,
something."
But that's
And they
potentially
jumped
an issue
on it,
there.
and
But in any case,
they got housed.
we still
It
have
was a
very
perfect
strong
mousetrap. The president left a little
unemployment
bit of
rate.
cheese
Was
here, a
down
little bit
to
of cheese there.
3.4%.
And then he said,
which
"I
is-
gotcha."
That's right.
Hasn't been that low since I was in college.
And you
in
know what? He got
1969.
them for the American people and our
The
seniors.
president had a lot
He
to
got them on record
to
that
talk
they will
about
not
his
touch
achievements
Social
because
Security and Medicare.
because the
When we know
the actions
full well,
taken in his
Mike
presidency
Lee, who's
continued
on the floor
the job
clutching
growth,
his pearls.
Right.
Oh my
and
God,
added
you're
jobs at really a
saying-
considerable
and
rate.
we have him on record saying that we
the
should
last,
pull
2
Social
years.
Security and Medicare out by their roots.
So
And so
you
this is the same
mentioned
man who
the
said, "Oh,
seasonal,
I don't
and
understand." The
Chad
only
always
person that
keeps
was
us sober,
confused,
folks.
or the
That's a lot
only
of
people that were
jobs,
confused,
but
were
there are
all on that
always
Republican
these
side of the aisle, because
adjustments.
they've been saying for months and years. Lindsey
So
Graham, Mike Lees,
because
Rick
that's what I
Scott.
was
I
wondering,
can go
because
on and on and on
December
about
wasn't
them
as
putting
big.
Social Security and
Um,
Medicare on the chopping block,
So
letting it
and
sunset, pulling it
we
out
would
by
have, I
its
thought,
roots. Those are their words, not the
expected it to be
president's.
bigger
well,
because of the
it
season.
was the perfect.
well,
match.
in
That
brief,
very well put.
the raw numbers
What
in
was some of the
January
other
always
highlights
show
for
a
you
loss of
from the speech?
jobs
For example,
because of all
Tyree
the
Nichols'
temporary
family
jobs.
Yes.
was there.
But
We've never heard a
the reason we do
president
seasonal adjustment is
acknowledge
because we know that
the
every
talk that
January
we have to have in our household.
you get a loss
The
of
talk.
jobs that's purely
when
seasonal
he
and not due
said
to any
that,
weakness
Mark,
in the
I
economy.
got chills.
And in the spring and summer, you get some opposites. So that what seasonal adjustment does is smooth it out, so
But
you
here's this
can see the
president
real trend.
who stood up
And
in
it's
the
certainly
well
the
of the
case,
House that has all of the House, the Senate, the
but
Supreme Court, that has
and the
Joint
trend
Chiefs of
has been
Staff,
strong.
that has diplomats
but
from around the world.
basically,
And he
before
gets on
this
the floor and
report,
he talks about
it had
an
been
experience that
moderated.
is almost
We still
unique
had
to black
very
and
high
brown
rates of job
folks,
growth,
the
a couple
talk.
100,000 a month, which
And
is still
you
very
know,
strong.
again, we should not be surprised
But
by
we
Joe
were,
Biden bringing
especially
this up.
given what the
This
Fed
is
is
the
doing, we'd be
same
expecting
president that has appointed more black women.
the job
to
growth
the
would be
appellate
slowing
court than any
some,
other
getting back
president
to sort of more,
combined.
because we're really
This is
pretty
the
close
same
to full
president that put the
employment.
first
in
black
many
woman on the
respects.
U.S. Supreme Court.
And
This is the same
that means
president
that the
who
job
has said,
growth would,
you know what, we're going to
lower.
change up how we have
would continue to
selected our
edge down, and
nominee
we got
for
this big jump
president
up.
for the last
Now,
decades
something
or so, for the
that
last 50
happened
years.
as well that's
And guess what?
technical
We are going to put a
is
state
that
with majority black voters,
there were
and
revisions
they're going to be the
to
first.
all
So
of
we
the
should not be
jobs, the
surprised
level
that
of
Joe Biden
jobs, all the way back
addressed the talk
to the beginning of
at last night's
2021.
State of Union,
Something
because
happens
it
every
continues
January
to be what
is
he
that
wants to make sure that we all have a seat at the table,
procedures
all
that
eat,
improve
that
on
we
the
can all
estimates
address
of the
the issues
jobs
that we
are
were dealing with
implemented.
on the day-to-day
And
basis.
so we got a big
that's
jump
why
in the
I'm proud to
level
work
of
for the man.
jobs in every month.
Clearly, also,
And we
in
probably
the
got
aftermath
400,000
of
more jobs
a
than
stellar jobs report too
from
Stellar.
those revisions,
He
which are not the
created
normal
more
monthly
jobs in
revisions,
2
but,
years than
uh,
any
once a
president
year.
ever
So
has in 4.
So a lot of technical stuff
12
going on, but the
million
bottom
jobs.
line is
Lowest unemployment since
we
1969.
still have a very strong,
And you know, we can go on and on
low
about this
unemployment
president and how
and
in
solid
2 years
job
it's
growth.
delivered so much.
All right.
And that's
so
why you elect a president. You elect
what
somebody
an
who's gonna
area
roll
we've
up his
always
sleeves
been
and go and
asking
work
about
for you.
since the
I mean, you just
pandemic,
look at the
leisure and
work on
hospitality.
student loans,
Did
right? No other
that
president
do any
ever
better
touched student
in
loans
January?
until this
Leisure and
point.
hospitality
And not
has
only did he
been
touch
doing
student loans,
better
he said
for
a
most
magic,
months in terms of
phrase
adding
for many of
jobs.
us.
But
Pell
leisure and
Grant.
hospitality
Now,
jobs
some
were in such a
Mark,
big
some
hole
people had to Google what a
in
Pell Grant was.
April of
But I know
in
you
April
know
of
what Pell Grants
2020,
are.
which was the depths of
And
the recession.
it was
that
cold
even
for a
with
lot
very
of us in the
solid
black
job
community,
growth,
because but
subsequently,
for Pell Grants,
there's
we would not have
still
gotten
a hole
sued.
of about
But this president said
a little
we're
under
gonna give you
a
some
half
extra
million
assistance and help
jobs
if you
in
got
leisure
Pell
and
Grants.
hospitality.
Again,
It hasn't-
I'm proud of the
hasn't been
president. I'm
closed.
proud of the vice
But
president.
there's been
because
steady
she's been
improvement.
on
It's just that
and
we're
on
not
with
all the way
him
back
on
to where
this
we were
every
before.
step of the way.
Now,
On
maybe
what
that
they have
reflects
achieved and what I
structural
think they can
changes
continue
in
to
the leisure and
achieve if
hospitality
we continue
industries.
to
I
just
mean, there's
give them
been a
the
lot of
support.
changes in the economy as a result of
The
the
infrastructure
pandemic.
plans, and he even
So forth.
joked
So
about how
the
people
economy of
fight what he's trying to do,
the
and
beginning of
then
2020
they want to
and
be
the
invited
economy
to the events when
at
he's in
the
their
beginning of
districts where they're shovel
2023
ready.
has a
I
lot
mean,
of
and
has a lot of
this is going to
differences
touch
that
a
probably
lot
are
of the
not all gonna be
districts where
reversed.
some of those people
Some good, some
were
bad.
last night that were heckling him. Do we
And
know
that's exactly right.
about
Many of those folks have already shown up to groundbreaking,
local and
even though
state
they
jobs?
voted
I mean,
against the
that
legislation.
especially
I almost wish they
you
put
and
a
I've looked at
provision
the
in
area
if you
of
vote no,
education.
you can't go to the
Chad,
the
do
ribbon
we know
cutting.
how those are
Because
those? Obviously,
the
leisure
hypocrisy
hospitality
on the
still has some
Republican
catching up to
side
do.
knows
When
no
last
bounds.
month we
It
talked,
knows
of course,
no
so did
bounds.
local and
They
state,
will
especially
say
the
that they're
education
for
area.
something.
They do any
and
better?
the sad thing is watching them last night.
Small
They couldn't
small
stand up for
improvements, but
teachers'
still a
pay.
big hole.
Still,
Yeah,
Teachers
I mean,
deserve a pay, but the
the
Republicans stood.
the ed-
They sat on their hands
local
on a
education in
number of issues
particular,
that the
but
president
also
brought
local
that
state
you would think
jobs,
would have bipartisan
non-education
support.
jobs,
They
are
could not
well
give him a
below where
win.
they were.
But that's okay. he's not doing it for them. He's doing it for the American people.
Recession.
And that's why he fights so hard. And again, why I'm so proud.
It'll take time to pick up, I guess. I don't, I'm not an expert.
Anyone who had any doubts
we have a big
about
state and local
his
government
ability,
operation at the center of the
or
budget.
let's be honest, there's a lot of ageism out here.
They're paying
His
attention to
stamina,
the
his
fact
strength.
that
I mean, he acquitted himself
these issues
of
with
all those
state and
concerns
local
last night,
jobs.
didn't he? Especially with the
I want to come back to
repartee,
for a minute because
as I
I
was
want
saying to another guest,
to
it
another
kind
part of your thread. And
for a
of
brief
course,
moment, it reminded
Chad
me of
writes
the
a
House
Twitter
of Commons.
thread on the Fridays,
did.
the job.
But I don't. You know what though? I don't think they're gonna do
Chad
that.
at
Jamie.
CD.
No, I think
I don't think they're gonna open it to leave themselves open for that again.
At Chad CD.
They were playing checkers
on
and
Twitter.
Joe Biden was playing chess.
You touched on
he was ready
average
for him. I
hourly
was reminded, I
earnings
guess. I don't know if you remember this when
this go round.
Margaret Thatcher was leaving.
Okay, so
and
get-
it was the
we
last
get average
question
hourly
time
earnings
she had, and she
for
goes to the well of the House
all
of Commons.
private
they
sector
battling, they
workers.
wearing her
And we
out,
get average
running her
hourly
down.
earnings
And she got up to the mic and said,
all,
"I love this." And just conquered
production
them all.
and
So
what's
in
called
a
production
way,
and
Joe Biden did. I don't think they're
basically
going to mess with him
non-management
anymore.
jobs.
I'm sure they had some meetings
people
last night.
I mean, look,
don't
we
send
care
him that
about
dude no
everybody's
more. Don't
earnings, but
heckle him. Don't put yourself in that
particularly
position.
interested in.
So it was great.
the
It's Black History Month, my brother.
Biden
You
management position
are
scale getting
obviously
really
a part
high
of Black history,
and
being the DNC chair, coming from South Carolina. I'm
those
noticing
have
over your
been
right shoulder too.
coming.
Our brother
they're-
Ron
they're-
Brown's
This is a complicated thing as
the
well.
first
They're-
African American
the
chair of the DNC.
the average hourly earnings
how you
have
feel
been
this Black History Month?
increasing
How are you
before
recommending?
adjusting for inflation.
Well, listen,
at a pretty healthy
I
rate,
understand that. I stand
at a
on
rate
the
that actually
shoulders of
has the
greats,
Fed concerned
including Ron
that-
Brown, who is a
that ultimately that
transformational
rate will have to
figure at
come
the
down
DNC,
to achieve the
really
Fed's
broke through the glass
inflation
ceiling
target.
and everything else
So,
to allow me to
nominal average
in this
hourly
office
earnings
today. But I
have
also
been
stand on the
moderated,
shoulders of great
but
people
they're
like
still
Jim
quite a
Clyburn. Everything
ways
I've
above
learned in
the
politics,
Fed's,
I've learned at the knee of this man.
where the Fed would like
taught
them
me this,
to be,
Rev, that
to
he
consider
said
that,
to me when
that
I
it's
was a
gotten
young
back to
staffer on the
2%
Hill.
inflation.
He said, Jamie and DC.
Adjusted for inflation,
Capitol Hill,
however,
their show
inflation has
horses
been
and their
even
workhorses.
higher
You
over the
always
period
need
we're
a
talking
workhorse.
about.
And that's what
And
I've
therefore,
been focused on. And,
real
you know,
purchasing
that
power,
really epitomizes
average
Black
hourly
history.
earnings
Our community
have been
we're a community worker.
declining
We get
for
stuff
a
done.
lot of this period.
We have
But
built this country
recently, very recently,
on our back,
inflation has
blood,
been
our sweat,
so
and our
low.
tears.
We're talking not about
But now it's time that we make sure that people continue
the
to deliver for us.
the inflation rate
Because it's
that
time
everyone
we
pays
need
attention
them to
to.
invest
The
in
headline
our communities.
inflation
And I'm
rate
glad
is
that
what
we have a
how
president
much has
doing
the
just that.
CPI,
It's
the
making
consumer
sure
price
that our
index,
voices can be heard,
increased
make sure that we're
over the past
investing in our
12 months.
communities, fighting
How much
back against
how
climate
much
change
higher
and
are
how it's
prices
impacting
now this
our
month than they
communities,
were in
making
the
sure
same month
that
a year ago?
Black folks can open up
Problem
small
is
businesses.
that a lot of that
I'm proud of this
data
president.
is
proud of this vice
is
president.
old. It's 6 months old or
And
older than
Commitment
that.
to our
And so we would like to
and
know what's
obviously
really
very
going on with
recently-
inflation.
and now we have a
right now. We'd
change in the
like to look at
primary
shorter
calendar,
time
right? South
period.
Carolina
What's
will go
been
first.
going on in the last
South
6
Carolina
months,
will be
or the
going
last
first,
3 months.
which is a big deal.
The last 1
Right,
month
you think about this.
is pretty volatile.
40% of
But
enslaved
inflation
folks in this country came through the Port of Charleston.
has really come down
In
the
South
past-
Carolina.
It was negative.
National
The CPI
Geographic
was
says
negative.
that African Americans, 90% of African Americans,
And so, looking at over a shorter period of time, how nominal wages have
this
done
state,
relative to inflation
where
in the past few
all of
months,
these
we've
enslaved
actually
folks
seen some
came
real wage
where
gains.
many people
We've
didn't
seen
have the right to vote,
nominal
including my
wages,
grandparents.
even though nominal wages
Now is
growth has
going
been
to be
slowing.
the first
Inflation
in the nation
most recently
to
slowed
help
faster,
determine the most powerful
as a
person
result,
on the face of this planet.
only for a few
That's
months.
changed. That's
but
real
the
change,
most
and that's
recent
a big
ones,
deal. And
we're
that
actually seeing
only
some
happened
real wage
because
gains,
of the
some
leadership
gains in purchasing
President Joe
power,
Biden.
which is a nice thing to do.
And
Which is
a
a nice thing to see.
community and
It's
electorate,
modest, but
the
it-
African American
but-
electorate
and it's
that
because of
is more
the fact that
more
inflation has
loyal
been so
More-
very
exactly
low
right.
over a short
to
period.
this party
That
than any other. So it makes
the
sense.
ideal,
And
the,
let me
the
add the
ideal
caveat to
outcome
that.
for
The president
workers
has even
and,
said,
and from the Fed
But
standpoint
for the folks
is that we
in
continue to
South Carolina
see
and the African American
nominal
he would
wage
not
growth
be president of the United States.
slow,
No, most certainly would.
And he
inflation
doesn't
slow
forget that.
more.
So to be
So that
clear,
we're seeing
where
real wage
then do
gains,
Iowa and New
but
Hampshire fall on the calendar? What
nominal
happens?
wages
Yeah.
are
So
not
this,
putting
this
any
is the new
pressure
calendar,
on
and when you look at
prices
this
that
calendar
employers might
calendar
pass through.
really
That's
reflects
a controversial
the
issue,
diversity
the
of the
degree to
Democratic
which
Party and the
wages
University of
wages are
of
not
America.
the main
I mean, this is
reason
a great
for-
counter.
for
We first
inflation.
start off in South Carolina,
But
then we
but,
move to New Hampshire and Nevada.
wages,
which are
nominal wages do have
3
to
days
come
later.
down. if we're going to have 2% inflation.
Large Latino population,
but
large labor movement there in Nevada. Then
maybe,
after you're done with those three small states,
a good aspect,
we then take a week off or so, and we go.
The workers have more
Georgia,
bargaining power,
the home
and they
of
can
the
get some
South,
real wage gains
right?
in addition to what
and,
happens just from
we spend
inflation
some time in
through
Georgia,
their bargaining.
and then we go to Michigan.
In a high
Michigan
employment
with
economy.
a significant Black, significant Latino, significant
Unemployment rates
Muslim
for
American
Black, Hispanic,
population,
Asian, white
but
workers
also
are all
the
close to
birthplace of the middle
pre-pandemic rates
class
too,
and
folks.
labor,
Actually, in
right there in
January,
Michigan, and so and then we open
the
it
Black
up into the
unemployment
regular
rate
window in
dropped
which
0.3
Iowa
of a
and other states will get an
percentage
opportunity
point.
to then weigh in.
I'd heard
The
that
white
some in
unemployment
Iowa,
rate
New
went
Hampshire
up 1/10
wanted
of a
to
percentage
still
point.
try
Asian
to
rate went up
do something.
0.4.
Is
Hispanic
that
rate
something
up
that
0.4
are they
as
still
well.
going to try that? Are they now on
Very
board?
interesting there.
Or can
But
they do
one
that?
other thing
Can
I
they
want
just
to
decide
point
we're going
out,
to do it the way we want to do it anyway?
Well, listen, in the end of the day, the
immigration
DNC will dictate what our primary schedule is.
and
the
foreign-born
primaries
workers
are, in essence,
who
delegate allocation,
obviously took a significant
contests. And so the
downturn
DNC
and a
decides
hit
that. So you can have
during
an
the
event,
pandemic
but that doesn't mean that we're
/recession.
gonna
Those
allocate
numbers are
any
coming back
delegates
up
out
as
of
well,
it.
aren't
And
they?
the only way you become
That's right.
president
We're approaching
our
more normal
nominees by
levels of
acquiring
legal
delegates.
immigration.
And so
And
we have extended
and that
waivers.
that means that there's
we have
been
extended an opportunity
we're
to
seeing the foreign population
Georgia
grow,
and to New Hampshire,
and
to
they're getting
continue
jobs.
to work
So
within their states so that they
we
can
need them
comply with the
because-
waiver that we have at the
because,
DNC.
employers need workers.
To allow them to be early
And
states.
so it's a positive
they have
development.
until June to do that. And then after that,
Yeah, no, it is,
we'll
and
make an assessment on how we'll move forward.
and that helps as well. And
Congratulations on
frankly,
that.
probably
That's a bit of
also
history,
has
as well, folks. It's Black History
some
Month. And the very first
a
in the
bearing
nation primary will be in
on
South Carolina
leisure
in Black
and
History Month.
hospitality
In Black
too, I would
History Month.
guess.
During Black History
We
Month
know
2020.
a lot of those
That's
workers
quite
have
that's
those
the
jobs.
best
don't
way
they?
to kick off Black
Yes,
History Month.
and
down to Charleston,
that's an area
get some
where
shrimp and
employers are
grits
saying it's hard to get workers.
That's
and
right.
listen to
And as you
presidential
say,
candidate.
That's right. That's right. Jamie Harrison, the chair of the Democratic
legal
National
immigrants.
Committee. Great work, my brother. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, my
Our
friend.
data we have
Thank
on
you for having me.
All right.
But all immigrants are helpful in filling a jobs deficit. It's not that there's this argument that immigrants are taking native born populations jobs, but that's just not true. There's different jobs that the two groups tend to take, and so it's quite a positive development that we're seeing increased legal immigration.
Indeed. So, folks, as Chad has forewarned us, we'll look to see what the adjustment will be. But I mean, adjustments usually aren't that drastic, are they?
They usually aren't, but we had during this expansion when we've had really strong job numbers, there have been some times when the revisions have been strong as well. See that so all of our statistics come from surveys, and so it's not the whole population, obviously. And the surveys, but worker on the payroll side, employers have 3 months to get their data in, and it all doesn't come in. That's why we have revisions, and the initial data that comes in may not be representative of what the overall population will look like when all the data is in. The BLS tries to adjust for that, so we're seeing we may see some bigger revisions that bring that 500,000 down some, but we might not see such revisions until later. It's just well, I'm rambling, but it's a complicated thing.
No, that's fine. What Chad is saying, you all, and he's absolutely right, and I'm glad he's reminding me of that. It's not like the revisions are going to come in next week. They may not even come in next month right away, but which kind of negates the news about them, because I've never seen revisions come in 2 or 3 months later and people say, "Oh my God, we made a big mistake in January and the sky's falling." No, it just doesn't. It doesn't work that way. So it kind of gives you job growth credit, so to speak, when it comes out this big, and then there's an adjustment made later on. And then, frankly, the way if things continue the pace, the ongoing, correct me if I'm wrong, economics teacher, but if the pace keeps going, we look up 2 or 3 months from now and there's a revision from January. It may almost be somewhat negligible, right? Because the other jobs are still coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what we do have to be concerned about is the risk that if the Fed, the Fed, I do not want to be Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman. He has a very difficult job, but if the Fed, in its effort to get inflation down, inadvertently tightens too much, and the economy really starts to slow, then that would be the kind of adjustment that we would not like to see. But it remains to be seen. We won't know the Fed's next move until next month. Actually, until April, I think.
Yeah. Follow him on Twitter, folks, and his incredible tweet threads. Chad CBPP at Chad CBPP. Be sure to check him out. The January jobs report. We'll see what happens next month. We'll talk to Chad next month as always. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome.